Hello everyone, my name is Millie and welcome to The Performing Arts and Me. For those of you that don't know me, I'm currently studying at London Studio Centre on a theatre dance degree course on the musical theatre pathway, and from September 2021 to May 2022 I did a foundation year at Bird College. I make videos about the performing arts and my general life experiences, so if you're interested please do subscribe. In today's video I'm going to be sharing some thoughts about choosing audition monologues. Now I did put up a poll on the community section of my channel and I asked whether you'd prefer this video first on choosing audition monologues or a video on preparing audition songs. However, the poll was split like 50-50, so I've just picked one. I'm planning to do the other video next time though, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that one. As I said, in today's video I'm going to be talking about choosing audition monologues. I'm talking about auditions for musical theatre related courses at places like drama schools. Now, because I did a foundation year and I'm now on a degree course, I did 2 sets of auditions, and as I mentioned in my previous video, during, before or after those auditions I watched other people's videos on YouTube at various points, and I might have applied other people's tips when I was searching for monologues and things like that. Some of the channels that I watched at different points include channels like Auditioning for Drama School and Lucy Stewart-Adams's channel, so I just wanted to kind of give credit to those. As I said in my previous video, I can't 100% remember what was in each of their videos, and so I can't say that I definitely agree with everything they said because I can't remember everything they said. However, you might want to have a look at those channels to get an idea of what other people have said about choosing monologues for drama school auditions. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get started. So my first tip is one I mentioned in my last video about choosing your audition songs, and that is to make a table with the requirements for each school's auditions as soon as you can. So if you can find out the information from their websites as to what they might ask you to prepare for an audition, then great, stick that on your table. If not, it might be a case of waiting to see what they tell you to prepare when you get information regarding the audition. But either way, as soon as you can, I'd recommend making a table with the schools and the different requirements for the monologues that they ask you to prepare. If you can stick it in the same table as your song one, then that might also be helpful because of a tip that I'll mention a little bit later on. But yes, I would suggest reading through the requirements for each school very carefully. Some details that might be in there would be things like whether they want it in prose or verse, contemporary or classical, or one of each. They might want a monologue that's close to your age or something along those lines. They might say they want it to be a British playwright, they might have dates, they might say please do it in your own accent, things like that. I think it would be worth looking out for and noting down. And then the next thing to do, really, after you've read all the information, or as much of the information as you can, and if you do get information sent from them at a later date, please check it with anything that's on their website, just in case there's any discrepancies, in which case you might want to email the schools just to check. But yeah, once you've decided what you're looking for, then the next thing to do is start hunting, and I'm now going to talk about some of the ways that you might want to try looking for monologues. So some great resources that you can use for hunting for monologues is something called Drama Online, and it's a website and they have a monologue search function. So you can put in a word count that you're looking for, like more than 150 words for example. You can put in the gender that you're looking for. I think you can type in key terms maybe as well, and then you can also, once you've searched for the results, you can filter it by date, you can filter it by like themes. There's so many different things you can do to narrow down your search. However, saying all of that, Drama Online, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I currently have access to it as a London Studio Centre student, and as a Bird College student last year I had access to it. I think we did have access to it when I was in sixth form, but I just didn't make the connection between it and monologues at the time, I don't think. But yeah, so your institution might have access to it, and I would say it's worth asking and checking if you're at school. For example, just ask your drama department or your library department, or I don't know who, to see if you have access to it, because if you do, it's a really good tool to use. I'm not sure, you might be able to also pay for a subscription as an individual. I'm not sure about that, so you might want to have a research into that, but it's a really great resource. However, if you don't have access to it, there are other options out there, which I'm going to talk about now. So Backstage has a monologue search function, I think. I think I used this more the first year or maybe the second year when I was looking for classical monologues, I might have used it as well. Anyway, so Backstage is something that you could have a look at. That one, as far as I'm aware, is free and open to all, but it could have changed, so please check. Also, you could use a library. Now, at Bird, they had a library, and it was really helpful for us because they had quite a lot of plays in there, and also monologue books and things like that. I'll talk about monologue books in a bit. Now, my library in the town where I'm from did have some plays, but not as many as Bird had. So it might be that a library near you has lots of access to lots of plays, in which case great, you could go and use those. Or you might have a library at like school or something with lots of plays, I don't know. But if you have access to some plays through a library, that could be another thing to use. You can also get monologue books, which I mentioned. So monologue books are literally a book of a collection of monologues from different plays. They tend to give you like a little breakdown of what the character is or what the play's about, and then the monologue, which has sometimes been cut or edited for you. Now, I think I used these the first year more than the second year. So someone suggested to me that maybe using monologues from monologue books isn't always the best idea, because they were saying that they're often quite popular ones because they're in monologue books. However, they recommended using them as like a starting point to find other authors whose writing you like, and then you can search for that author, search for other plays they've done, etc, etc, etc. In fact, on that subject, if you find a monologue that you like, but for some reason it's not what you're looking for whatever reason, maybe the character is quite a bit older than you and the schools have asked for something that's close to your own age, for example, in which case you could then look up that author and see what else they've written and see if there's another monologue in a play that might therefore have a similar writing style to the one that you liked. Another thing you could do is think about plays that you have done, been in, studied, seen, that kind of thing. In fact, if you're watching this quite a bit in advance of doing your drama school auditions, it might be worth trying to start reading some plays and seeing theatre more regularly so that you've got a bit of a bank of knowledge. If you have a play in your hand, say you found it in a library, for example, and you're not sure if there's going to be a monologue in it that will be suitable for you. I think someone suggested this to me rather than me coming up with it off the top of my head, but this is how I would suggest trying to go about finding monologues. First of all, I would say to check for a character list and see if there's someone that is a character you'd want to play. Sometimes it has just the names, sometimes it might have the names and then like an age in brackets, or it might have a short description of the character and things like that. If there isn't an age or a short description, if you flick through the play and find the point where the character first comes in, it might have a bit more information about the character, but if not, then you'd probably have to read the play properly to get an idea of their age, for example. Once you've found characters that you think, if they had a monologue, I might be able to do that, then flick through the play and scan for any like big chunks of text, and then see which characters say it, and if they're one of the characters that you thought, oh yeah, that one might work, then you might want to read the monologue. I would suggest doing it like this rather than initially reading the whole play, because you might read the whole play and there's like no monologues in there, or there's no monologues of a character that you're looking to play. I am going to mention this, even though I'm going to do a video about preparing monologues, please make sure you read the play first before you actually perform it. But just to start with, you might want to just read the monologues, otherwise you might end up reading quite a lot of plays, and although there's not a problem with that, if you've got a lot to do, then that might not be the most productive use of your time. Okay, a few ideas for actually choosing your monologues once you've found like a selection, like picking which ones you want to do. One thing to consider is you might want to choose something that's in contrast to your songs. As I mentioned before, if you put it in a table with song requirements, then that might give you an idea of which songs you'll be doing for that school, and then you can think about a monologue that contrasts it, because if a school is asking for a song and a monologue, then they get to see you playing basically two different characters, the character in your song and the character in your monologue. So trying to show a contrast could be something that you want to do. Now, they might ask you to do a classical monologue and a contemporary monologue. With contemporary monologues, we were advised to try to go with something that's quite current, because it suggests that you're a bit more like up to date with current theatre. But with classical monologues, like there are only so many classical monologues. So although for like contemporary monologues and for songs and things like that, you might be choosing to do less overdone ones, there are only so many classical monologues. And yes, some of them are done more than others, but there's probably not that much in it, so maybe don't worry so much about that. Also, like I said in the song video, with a monologue you're acting, you're playing a character, they're not your words, but you've chosen it, and so it does kind of show something about you. So you might want to try and choose something that shows part of your personality or presents your abilities with acting. Other things to consider is, do you like the monologue? Do you connect to the character? Would you be comfortable saying it in an audition situation? Also, reading the play where the monologue is from. I know I mentioned this earlier as it's more of a preparation thing, but you might find once you've picked a few of them, it might be worth reading the plays of a few of them, because once you understand the context of the play and the character, you might decide you like the monologue better than when you didn't really understand where it was coming from. Also, you might want to consider the length, if they've asked for a 2-minute monologue or a 1-minute monologue or less than 2 minutes, etc, etc. And also, when you're doing that, I would suggest actually speaking it rather than just like reading it in your head and timing it, because speaking it takes longer. And also, once you've worked on it, the length I found tended to increase, because I'd read it at like a normal tempo, but then when I was acting it, there'd often be like pauses and things in it, so you might just want to bear that in mind as well. Okay, and that is everything that I want to share with you in today's video. I hope it's been helpful, and if you have any other ideas about how to choose your audition monologues, good places to find monologues and things like that, please do leave them in the comments. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like to let me know, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss my future videos. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye!